Welcome to Campaigns and Coffee. Grab your mug and let's dive into tales of adventure and the answers to your quirkiest of questions. Today we're talking about convention season, what we do to prepare, and what we look forward to. So for us at time of recording, Origins is next week, and GenCon is in 2 months. Convention season is in full swing. Some of you may be going to DragonCon in August, I think it is. Josh, Erin, while we sit here and drink coffee, what do you guys do to prepare for conventions? What kind of tips for newcomers do you have?
Carpool, if you can.
That is a good tip.
I'm a part of a living campaign known as the Sparks campaign. So preparing for any convention means opening the characters that I have been playing in those campaigns, making sure they're updated, setting new goals for them because you want to try and accomplish something in their growth during the campaign, during your convention time there. So printing out everything. I do run at those conventions. So of course, rereading anything that I'm about to run, my scenarios, printing those out, making sure I've got the electronics or books that I might want. And then I start thinking about what will I wear on my body and pack for those things.
So game first.
Game first.
Then prepping for like actually being there.
Human needs.
There are probably just a few of people out there that don't know what the Sparks campaign is. Can you give us a brief synopsis of what the Sparks campaign is?
Yes, the Sparks campaign is a Star Wars campaign in the lovely Weston Games D6 system, been running continuously since 1996. We have characters. Well, I personally have a character older than my children. You can come in, grow your character however you like. The D6 system I love it, and it's stood a test of time. Does it have problems? Yes. But it has an endurance with how well the game system holds up and allows for this incredible growth and story of your character. It's not perfect, but people can really build a character and a legacy and expressions that I don't think they can do in other systems, in my opinion. Because somehow, even if your character is super powerful, we can find a way to challenge you and still make your story heroic. And not just, I walk in and I take everything and I'm the most powerful Gandalf wizard ever. There can be situations like that, but for the most part, the ability to challenge and always make your character standing, sitting at the edge of their seat or gripping onto the bridge with their fingernails, it's always there as a possibility. So I always have to prep for that and, make sure that I've looked at my character. She's the most updated version of herself because we have character sheets that we track your growth, mostly their records. If we were ever suspecting, hey, why do you have such a high, ridiculous, amazing skill and I've only seen you 3 times? We have some sort of paperwork trail for you to use.
Yeah. By the way, thank you for that. Now, maybe more people will join Sparks. I've enjoyed it in the past as well. Maybe we can get Josh to play a game. But do you know why Gandalf is so powerful?
He's a wizard and he was the main guy. He's Merlin.
Well, no, he had everyone run away in Moria, and then he took down the Balrog by himself, which was all the XP for him.
Yep.
That's what it was. He stole all the XP. How about you, Josh? Do you have any rituals for attending, tips for newcomers?
So weirdly, I've only been to GenCon 3 times. Well, this will be our 3rd time going. Mostly once we moved to Indy. That's when we started going to it.
Oh, it makes a lot easier if you live in the town that the convention's going on in.
Yep. So we haven't developed too many, I guess, rituals. Although I will say, one of the things that we tend to do there now is we have to go eat at a certain spot. As far as rituals go, we haven't been going long enough to develop anything in particular. Other
Gotcha.
than, I will say, I do think that Erin is right. It is a lot of prepare like the character before you prepare yourself.
Yeah.
So
you have something that Erin and I have not had in a while, which is a little one. How do you bring a little one to a convention?
We have tablets and switches, lots of things for her to do. And then one of the nice parts, at least in GenCon, is they have a nice area like specifically for like kid games and stuff like that. And they have a lot of like interactive demos and stuff. So
Cool.
last year, especially, it was nice. We would always kind of take a break in there and just kind of like, here, go ahead, let's play a game for a little bit. Let's see which games you like. And I think we ended up buying her more games than we bought ourselves. So, but to her credit, we have played them all multiple times.
Wow, she's ahead of the game in terms of like, like as Erin pointed out at one point this week, many of the games on my shelf may have been read. A few have been played multiple times. Even less have been played only once, and there is a significant portion that have never been played at all. So your little one is ahead of the game.
I will say the most expensive thing that we bought her last year, though, she hasn't played yet, but I don't know if she's particularly for it yet to actually to get what's going on and play by the rules.
Gotcha. My thought for gaming for most con goers is something that if you've been to a con, you may have heard of this before, which is the 3-2-1 rule, which is you need 3 hours of sleep every day, you need to have 2 meals every day, and at least 1 shower every day. Depending upon what time of year, you might switch 1 and 2. Sometimes some cons are so hot, especially like Dragon Con, which is in Georgia in August. 2 showers a day, it just feels good. It makes the con pleasant for you and for everybody else if you have enough sleep, enough food, and enough clean air around you. So it's that's the one rule that I would say, because so often it is so easy to get distracted by all the cool stuff that you forget to eat, or all the there's like a werewolf game going on at 2 a.m, and then you have a game at 8 a.m, and the werewolf game is going to last a few hours. It's really easy to not get sleep, and people get cranky when they don't get sleep, or do silly things when they don't get sleep. So that's my personal rule.
I also have a dedicated backpack to gaming, and it does nothing else other than gaming. And the backpack, because you go through things and you're like, oh, I need this, oh, I need that. It now has accomplished and accumulated I need things. So now when I pack it, I really just have to pack it with the most recent things I need, rather than have to think of all the things I need. I'm like, oh, I always want these little drink things so that my water is flavored. Okay, well, I've got a bunch of those already sitting in there. And so I just have a dedicated gaming convention backpack so that you're putting in all the little things, the creature comforts, and it will accumulate those things, and they're there, like pencils. You've got the pencils already in there. You don't have to think about pencils anymore.
I'm going to add in something onto that, channeling Ken for a little bit, which is don't overstuff your backpack. There are places in the convention that are really crowded. So like in the Great Hall at GenCon, super crowded. People are like 6 inches from each other. Going in and wearing the backpack that can hold the entirety of Gloomhaven plus 2 or 3 other board games, they do exist. It's like wearing a box on your back. Please don't wear that in the Great Hall, because you often aren't
take somebody
aware.
Out?
Yeah, you're going to take somebody out. You aren't used to wearing it, so you don't realize how big that thing is. I've seen
Small children go
more than one.
flying.
Yeah, I've seen more than one person get whacked with one as someone goes, "Oh wait," and sees something cool and spins around quickly. Plus, those things are heavy. If you put too much in your bag, you are going to tire out and be sore a heck of a lot earlier than you normally would on any other day. Yeah. So watch your backpack weight and your size. Rolling backpacks are nice, but they can also be a tripping hazard in places like the Great Hall. But if you're careful, they're not. So rolling backpacks are nice. I also have a dedicated backpack, and I try and make it as light as possible. One thing that does help is, if you've got a tablet or if you can read it on a phone, if you're not wearing the glasses like I do, a lot of your game books can fit on your phone. Although I will also say that you're at a con, you don't really need your game books. This was a mistake that I made when I first started going, was like going in and taking the player's handbook, dungeon master's guide, monster manual, just all in my backpack, walking around, going and playing D&D games. Never once did I pull them out, because unless you're the GM, you don't need to have them. And even if you are the GM, you probably have arranged your module that you're going to play so that you have whatever stat blocks and whatever rules are necessary with you in a very small packet, rather than taking a giant thing of books. I would like to hear from other people out there what their standard rules are for conventions, and what their standard loadout is for taking stuff to conventions, or tips and tricks for conventions.
For bringing stuff to the convention. You were talking like when you're buying stuff at the convention, don't buy the box. I was like, wait, what?
No. Oh, no. So that actually leads to the next thing, though, Josh, is what's the one thing you have to do every time you go? What's your weakness? What do you do every time you go to a con?
I have to buy dice. That's my biggest weakness. I have to buy at least one new set of dice while I'm there. We also
have to play as much Sparks as I possibly can fit in.
That is so true. If you want to see Erin and Sparks is playing, you could probably go to where Sparks is playing and find Erin. If we're at that con, that's where she'll be.
We tend to try to stop by and say hello to
Yeah, I'm always there.
Yeah.
Quite seriously, almost always there. I may not see the Great Hall at a convention.
No, that's evidently my weakness. Is I love going through the Great Hall. I don't necessarily buy anything, depending upon what's there and what my current mood is. If I have a friend with me, I will certainly try to enable them to purchase things. Ken went home last year with so much extra stuff. One of the things that I like to do there is talk with the game designers and such that are at the booths. It's really hard to do at GenCon. It's one of the reasons that I really like Origins. I like the process of designing games. I think a fair number of GMs out there have wanted to create their own game at one point in time or another. And so this is kind of my vicarious way of figuring out how they do that. I will also say that at least once a convention, I get a text from Erin saying, "Hey, can you bring me Subway?"
That is my go-to eat.
Yep.
The carbs in the bread, man. Going.
Yep.
Well, and it's got some vegetables in it, and I always get them cold. I don't get any hot things, so I can get a nice foot long, and half of it goes into my bag, and will probably be eaten in about 3-4 hours. Because, again, I'm trying to put in as much Sparks as I humanly can.
Yep.
And going and taking a half hour to go get food is just not in the recipes.
And her standard backpack has a little like a soft-sided lunch cooler with a cold pack. Anyone out there who's like, wait, you have a Subway sandwich sitting in your backpack warm for 3 to 4 hours. No, it's usually cold. So no worry about getting sick there.
One of the best experiences we had at GenCon last year was when we were trying to find the West End Games area in Lucas Oil. We got to experience. We got an unguided tour of the
Lucas Oil. Yeah.
Lucas Oil. We went into a lot of areas we probably weren't supposed to be in.
We were all confused where we were too the first day. And it is because we do attract new players to Sparks. We have a lovely, lovely space where it's pretty much just us. We have these great windows. But it's so out of the way, and you have to kind of like climb the stairs to heaven and, knock on the pearly gates to get in.
Which is why we got our unguided tour, because there wasn't a great way to get a stroller up there. So,
No.
So we somehow made it into broadcast booths and stuff. And
Interesting. All right.
We're in the same space, by the way. Yeah.
We'll try to find it this year.
Yeah. So Gen Con has gotten so huge that the Sparks campaign used to be on the field of Lucas Oil Stadium. They actually cover all the turf. Dungeon Crawl Classics, Goodman Games, is also down in that same area, usually year after year. But things have gotten so big that they've moved out into some of the areas that are like skyboxes and other things like that they'll sit people in, and that's where Sparks was last year and I guess this year, which is really nice and comfy, but it's not easy to find or get to if you don't know where you're going.
Which cut down on our foot traffic. We didn't like that because our ability to like snag people who are just like walking by was. We could snag people. It would have been every convention where people are just like, what's going on? And we're like, sit down. You'll find out. Roll some dice.
Yeah.
Be amazing.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I've really enjoyed about Sparks. I've drifted in and out. Erin's played continuously, but the people that you meet in Sparks are amazing, and they're very welcoming. It is, given how West End Games and Sparks, the campaign especially, is, you can sit down and start playing within 5 minutes and have a character that you've made, and then can continue going game after game after game. But we're going to wrap up Campaigns and Coffee. Is there any last minute things that you guys want to recommend for people heading to conventions, local convention, Gen Con, Origins?
Hydrate.
That's a good one.
Yeah, hydrate, and I like that 3-2-1 rule. Remember that rule.
It's a good one. Yeah, it's a good one. But we've got one question that I'd like to get feedback on for all you minions, henchmen, and overlords in training. We've got this question from a minion, which is, what are some essential items every minion should have in their inventory when starting a new adventure?
Are we being evil or are we being good? If we're being evil, then one thing in your inventory, get that giant backpack.
I think we'll end it there. Everyone else, give your suggestions in the comments. Thank you for joining us on Campaigns and Coffee. Layerofsecrets.com is where all of our links are. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit like and subscribe. Let us know how you enjoyed this episode. So we'll see you again soon.
Happy cons.
Happy cons.